I left Kenya as a business owner and on a contract as general manager, and I'm going now to start as a receptionist. By the time I was going there, I was this instability of changing jobs here, changing jobs, the other stuff. And then again, my lifestyle has changed. I'm supporting family at home. I'm paying bills and this, and the real American life had caught up with me. So then I see there's this American Bank of America. They're inviting me to a credit card, interest-free credit card, $4,500. They say when the deal is too good, think twice. I left Kenya as a business owner and on a contract as general manager, and I'm going now to start as a receptionist. But again, everything has a starting point, right? So I wasn't too proud to take on any position. So I went there, and usually they would have a 90 days probation, but within 30 days, they confirmed me for that position. I worked in that position for I think 5 months, and then I was promoted now in operations management. It was not supposed to happen. Apparently, people had to work. The company policy was you have to work for 12 months in one position before you can transfer. So here I am. I have transitioned from, first of all, receptionist. They've waived 60 days of probation, and then they've moved me to operations. While I was in operations, I was doing operation support. And then while I was there was another position that had come up, and I want to apply for it, but then I can't because of this 12-month thing. But senior management came to me and said, "Are you interested in that position?" I said, "Yeah." It had expired from the intranet. And they went and had it uploaded, intranet. I applied, boom, I took it. Of course, that was the first time I had workplace hostility. I saw it from Americans because she found us here. She is African. She has an accent. I mean, they don't just say African, you have an accent. And you're coming up here and bypassing us and taking up our positions and stuff. But I'm there and I'm loving it, and I just had to report it to the management and stuff. And there was somebody who was instigating that. Black on black. I hear they call it black on black crime. It doesn't happen, but it did happen to me. Actually, the lady that caused that she had wanted my job and she didn't get it. She had worked for the company for 9.5 years. So she's eyeing this position, she didn't get it. Another one was there for about 5 years, she didn't get it. Many they wanted the job, they had worked there, but I didn't pursue it, I was pursued for it. And so I say there was just a favor of God following me. While I was working there, I started thinking, this is becoming too good. God, I had gotten to a point I was getting a little bit shaky in terms of, is God still with me? Things are beginning to look a little rocky. I can't tell my family things are rocky because what are they going to do for me? They're only going to worry. I don't want to extend my worry. So I still had to look like everything is going well. And that is one of the challenges that a lot of foreigners deal with. You leave home, you go to a foreign country, and especially, let me say, America, Germany, UK, Australia, those Western countries. Your family thinks when you go there, that's the end of their poverty, that's the end of their suffering. You become a mobile bank, or actually you become like a virtual bank. Anytime they lift the phone, you end up, your family needs tend to increase when you leave the country. And because I knew that, I didn't want to tell my family when I was going through my hardship. And that's what happens with a lot of foreigners. And they don't want to tell their families. And so they end up suffering. They end up suffering quietly, borrowing, others dropping out of school because they cannot afford the school fees as an international student. For example, we pay 4 times what an American would pay. If you're paying $400, an American is paying maybe $96. You're paying $400 for a credit hour. So that is a dynamic that I wish more families in Africa, or let me say for Africa, can have empathy, and they can have just some mercy for their family members who are out of the country. They are struggling. The economy is big, yes, but the cost of living is extremely high. And you don't evade. There's a lot of things you cannot, there's no two way of whether or not you will pay taxes. You will pay. you're going to, not all the time you're debating on taxes, this much, for them, you must pay. There are standard taxes that you must pay. So those are deducted. But the beauty of the system there again is at the end of the year when you file for your tax returns, part of that money is given back to you by the government. In Africa, I don't think so. You must pay, you must file, even when your roads are not passable, you still must pay taxes. Over there, taxes work for you. So, it's usually a cultural shock for people that move from developing world countries, especially in Africa, to there, and they see, whoa, the taxes that they pay actually work. Even if it's non-negotiable, that's okay, because the service, the quality of the infrastructure, road infrastructure, and the social amenities, they're actually there. So you feel like your taxes work. And that is something that I hope our leaders can also learn and emulate. As much as we're trying to be a first world country, we're trying to make our African countries like a first world, then let us do it to where even the lowest level citizen can feel and experience that benefit and that experience of a first world. Not just a first world kind of country for the top few. No, I think it should be felt all the way at the bottom. I just had to stop and say that. But so yeah, there we were, and this company where I'm working, and I'm really beginning to like it, and I see they have another relief. They're paying for tuition for their employees. I'm thinking, I'm an international student. Does this apply? I printed the sheet that had the announcements. Then I go to share with my fellow African students. And they said, don't bother. That's not for you. That's for the American citizen employees. I said, but I don't see anywhere it mentions citizen or American. It just mentions employees. And I fit in that category. So I go back and quietly apply for that thing. And in 3 days, I'm approved. So it took off so much burden, so much financial burden and pressure from my shoulders, because now it meant I don't have to pay for my university education. My employer has taken it up, everything, including books. And so I can now be able to support people back home. Then I started thinking, when I first left Kenya, I had said, if I go there, I want to go there, gain exposure, experience the education and everything, and see what I can do to share my experiences back home. But I didn't know how, in what capacity. So at that time, in 2003, I started thinking, this would be a good time to think about what I could do back home. I started thinking about the level of education, the level of poverty, especially in the village, having grown up in the village. What can I do to change just where I came from? If nothing else, just where I came from. They say charity begins at home. I had tried to do charity within my family before I left the country. But now I'm there and I'm supporting my family. I want to expand it so that it's not just my nuclear family. And so we're there, and I remember there was a gentleman that I worked with. His name was Cliff Bowen, and he was a great friend. And we would talk. We became very good friends. And I tell him, one day I want to go back to Africa. I want to go back to Kenya, and I want to do some charity work. I don't know in what capacity, but I want to do something to help the kids in my village. I just felt like, all this I'm living now is because of a dream that I had when I was a little kid. And I'm sure there are so many kids trapped in the poverty and mediocrity of the society, of the community, of the family, that probably cannot see beyond that. Because I came to realize, for us, like growing up, we didn't have mentors. And now in America, I'm seeing mentorship programs, and I'm seeing the importance. There's a program, there's an organization called Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And when I would volunteer at Big Brothers Big Sisters, even us, Verizon was or the name of our employer, and there was a Verizon Foundation. And we would do volunteer and mentorship, community mentorship. They would have clubs like, recreational clubs for the community. And you go there and you find opportunities with adults mentoring young people. So you're actually helping these kids to kind of like polish up their lenses and to be able to polish up their minds, the way they think, their perspective. But what about in Africa? So I thought about who's doing that in Kenya? How can I do that? So then again, that was too big a dream, too big. I could not, grasp it. So I thought, maybe I could just start by doing a Christmas outreach, maybe. Maybe I could just do Christmas gifts, candy, mostly just sweets and maybe sweets and cookies, and maybe a party for the kids. just for the village kids. It starts from there, and we'll see where it goes. I didn't know, but I was in a maybe situation. So I'm sharing with Cliff, and I said, like, Rosemary, your life intrigues me. One day I'll go to that village with you. I said, one day we were like, yeah, we'll go. And I said, we better. And I thought, we joked about it, and that ended. I finished my education while I was there. I graduated while I was there. And during the time, right after I graduated, I was now thinking, what do I do? Usually when you graduate as an international student, you can get a break from this immigration requirement of having to carry a full capacity or full load of 12 hours. You can take a break for 1 year where you don't have to go to school, but you are allowed to stay and work. Now that exposes you to the corporate world. If you want to travel, whatever, you can work for whoever. But you have to apply for that. Now, if you had violated your immigration status on your first year, second year, and all that, you have no chance to qualify for this. So I applied for this, and I said, okay, now this 1 year, I have freedom to work anywhere, however many hours I want, travel if I want to travel. I have that freedom, so I'm in good terms with the immigration, and I don't have the pressure to go to school. What do I do with this? So during that time, I called my mom and grandma, and I said, hey, I have this break, and I was just thinking, would you guys like me to come home and see you, or would you like to come and see me in America? They think, we come to America to see you? How? You mean we can come to America? Like, they can't even fathom, they can't even contain it. I said, I mean, if I was able to come, you too can come. Why not? I mean, I'm only here because of the faith foundation and the discipline that you gave me as a kid. And if I could, then, I mean, if you want to come here, I'll pay for it. Maybe for them, this would be one of the biggest gifts that I could ever give them. And so I did pay their airfare. They came to the States. I was with them during that time. That time, Cliff, who had wanted to travel to Kenya, was in China. So he didn't get to meet them. But I talked to them about him, and he was like, oh, well, yeah, it would be nice if you come. So I was just thinking, that was just a joke we had. I never thought it would ever happen. But it did happen much later. So anyway, while my parents were there, when I say parents, I'm talking about my mom and grandma. While they were there, again, to this day, I'm always very grateful that I dreamt, never gave up on my dreams. I went there, never gave up on my vision, never gave up on my education, never stayed on the wrong side of the law, because again, if I did, they could never have gotten the chance to come there. How do I invite them when I'm already illegal? How does a criminal invite people? For them to get a visa, I had to write an affidavit. I had to do an affidavit for them. I had to share my address. I had to share my bank accounts. I had to share my education, credentials. Like, yes, so they can see I've done according to the law, according to what I told the embassy in Kenya. So it was easy for them to get a visa just like that. And I had seen people who have tried to invite their family members, even to graduations, to weddings and stuff. But because one of those family members had violated the immigration law, their parents were denied opportunities. It's actually sad. It's a catch-22 if you mess that. So while they were there with me, we stayed with them for 6 months. Initially, it was supposed to be 3 months. And I could remember the first month, my mom is talking about her cows. My grandma is talking about her chicken. We are there. The neighbor stole a chicken. They have no peace in America because of one chicken. I'm thinking, chicken, forget chicken. But let me tell you right now, from where I sit, I understand. I have my own chicken. I make sure they are counted every day in the evening. I have my own, I don't have cows and I don't want anything to do with that, but I have goats. I have almost 65 goats now. I never thought I could keep one goat, but I have goats and I am so attached to them. I love them. They bring me peace. They give me a purpose because through them, I have created a livelihood. I've employed other people to take care of them. But back then when my mom would go crazy or just like lose her mind because of she's told there's a cow that is sick. She's told there's a goat that died. It's a big deal. But now I understand. So they stayed with me during that time, just before they were due to travel back. My grandmother almost succumbed to shingles. She got sick and she was a very strong woman. She hid the pain from me. She didn't want my mom to see her in pain. My mom cried when she saw her mother in pain. Well, I didn't cry. It made me hurt. It hurt. It was painful, but I didn't cry. But my mom cried because she doesn't want to see her mother in pain. My mom was a very sensitive person. She loved deeply. My mother did not like to see suffering. She could go to a wedding, to a funeral, anywhere, and see someone's child crying. That kid should not be crying. She felt like that mother is probably not doing a good job, so she would go and help. And babies came to her like bees on honey. I think, like I said, that's something I think I inherited from her. I didn't know. So my mom was there and seeing her mother almost going down. We almost lost my grandma in America. And at that time, I had taken a break from work. I wasn't working because I thought I would just jump from this job and I'll find another one, but I didn't. So I was jobless, almost getting homeless, and I have my mom and grandma there. I mean, when you have when you're jobless and you have people consuming, what's going to happen? The next thing, you'll be broke, right? And I remember we prayed a lot during that time. And because for one, they could not believe they're in America because of a daughter and a granddaughter who they thought was crazy when, dreaming about America and talking about America. And even when I went, they never thought they would ever see me again. Because again, there are many people who leave home and they go and taste the world out there and they completely cut ties with their families. One, because either their families were toxic. Two, maybe because they go there and they choose a life of irresponsibility and lawlessness. And so they cannot, they won't be able to keep up with the demands at home. And they don't want their family to know that they're on the wrong side of the law. So they cut ties. And so that's one thing I know my family feared about. And so for my mom and grandma to be sitting there and see that actually I have a network of friends. I had built a wonderful network, social network that is multicultural. I don't discriminate against color. I don't care the color of your skin. I don't care what your accent sounds like, whatever dialect. I don't care the color of your hair, whether it's curly or straight or what, how short, how tall, how fat, I don't care. If you and I can connect from here, we're friends. We're friends. And that's the beauty of diversity, because then I get to learn a lot from different people about their backgrounds, about how they do different things, how they believe different things, and why they believe different things. And they get to also learn from me. And so my family was very diverse. And so my mom and grandma came to join that, and they were impressed that I have friends from all over, because I did at least 2 parties for them while they were there. They see all kinds. I have Chinese friends, I have Indian friends, I have white American friends, I have black Americans, I have black and white, I have Asians, I have Mexicans, I have all kinds. I have Africans from South Africa, West Africa, East Africa, all kinds. I love that. And up to this date, that's my kind of life. That's who I've always been. Even in Kenya, I don't know tribe. And people tell me, but you cannot run away from the fact that you are a Kamba. And I tell them, I am not a Kamba. I am born in Ukambani. But that does not make me a Kamba. And I never ask anybody, what tribe are you? I ask somebody, what part of Kenya are you from? Then that will tell me where they're from. I don't like to use this word tribe because it's one of the things that has been crippling our society, our country, our communities. But now there's so much intertribal marriages. So where do these kids belong? Are they from the mother's tribe or the father's tribe? I just say they're Kenyans. Over there, I just say we're humans. So anyway, my mom and grandma prayed for me a lot around that time to find a job. And eventually I found a job, which was paying me very, very little. And I had been telling them about my desire, my dream, my desire, my dream. Even before I left the country for the first time, in 98, the first time I told them, when I get a chance, if I ever go out there, I want to do something back home for kids. But I didn't know what. It was very obscure, but I knew I wanted to do something. So after praying and me getting a job, it was temporary, but by the time they left, it was interesting that a 90-day probation, again for a second employer, was reduced to 30 days. They waived 60 days, 2 days before my parents would fly back to Kenya. So they left knowing I am getting a permanent job. But I was earning $9.50 an hour. Well, that in Kenya is money, but there is nothing. But nevertheless, I had a job. At least I could pay my rent and my basics. I told God, how do I do this Christmas thing? You know, you put that desire in my heart. Now my mom and grandma have pressured me into it. They've gone back. How do I do that? So when they left in September of 2004. And then I told them I will bring Christmas in December 2005. I figured we have about a year and a half almost. They'll forget about it. They didn't. They put me under pressure. I prayed to God and I said, what do I do? So in May of that 2005, I called a few friends to my apartment. I had a one bedroom apartment. And I called them, I wanted to share with them my desire, my dream to do that. And then it was becoming an actual burden now. It's like grandma ignited that thing again. And now I'm feeling abandoned, like I actually owe her, because I used to promise her, I used to tell her to pray for me. And now I've done nothing. And now she's ignited and she's gone and she's putting pressure on me. And I came and talked to them, and there was this older couple who actually embrace and understand missions. One of them, the ladies, grew up in Africa, actually. The parents were missionaries in Africa. And so they're white folks, but she loves Africa. She feels African. She grew up, went to school at Rift Valley Academy, and her name is Stanley, and her husband is Joel. And they were there and they embraced missions. So they rallied behind me to make sure this was a success. And she, in the capacity of a mother, Sally, prayed over these missions. I didn't know how it would pan out, but since I told them I'm collecting gifts, now people just started bringing, because we were just coming out of Easter. So there was a lot of toys and stuff from Easter. Now, you know, in Africa, when you don't have anything, you're not choosy on what gift you can expect. So I collected anything I could come across, and I ended up with boxes there. I don't know how I'm going to ship them. Meanwhile, while I was doing that, when you really commit what you're doing to God, He orders the steps of your feet, and He will make sure it will come together. But I always believe He wants to do that so He can glorify Himself. And so with sharing and just talking to people and all that, I say, you know, at the very least, I'll do that one. I'll do that one trip, and after that, I don't know, between that and the next December, if it happens, I could do it annually. At least I have a break, right? But I didn't look past that long term. I didn't think long term. But I just thought, oh, I can do this every year. Now that 2005, I watched a video, actually a documentary. Oprah Winfrey had gone to South Africa and given 50,000 kids personalized gifts addressed to their names. And I thought, who does that? 50,000. I'm thinking, I don't even know if I can do 500. I don't know if I can do 50, but I'll do what I can. But that story, when I watched her documentary, it actually even inspired me more. Granted, I can never be Oprah, but I always go back to Oprah inspired me even to come to America from Kenya, because I saw her show when I was 19 years old, and I was like, I love this woman. I love the stories that I'm seeing and stuff. So that inspired me about going, you know, traveling overseas, living overseas or whatever. Now, here, years later, is another inspiring story by the same woman. This one is about giving, and it was Christmas, and I'm thinking, Jesus, you know, but of course, Oprah Winfrey is Oprah Winfrey, right? I can never be her, but I'm not trying to compete or be like her. But I want to do something in my community. And so anyway, people gave gifts. In September, some lady, her name was Lisa Matthews, God bless her, because she made my first Christmas mission trip a success. Again, if I hadn't shared, she would never have known. She didn't know personally from me. She found out online. Social media is good. There was a pop-up on her screen. While she's on holiday, she sees a pop-up about a Christmas project coming up. It was called Ego's Christmas Kindness. Eagles Christmas. So she sees it twice and she thinks, who is this? So she writes an email. She didn't think I would respond because many times, apparently, many people have said they write emails. You know, these pop-ups, you write and it goes into a black hole and nobody ever responds. So you just think they're jokers, they're spammers, whatever. So she thought, well, you know what, I'll just write. Boom. It came to me. And she left her number. So I called her. Long story, she invites me to her office. We meet. She brings her stuff together and they take upon my project. It becomes their project. They removed the weight from my shoulders of what will I take home? What will I go give these kids? How will I ship it? They collected, you know, they're Americans, so they know American themed kind of gifts for kids, things that I would never have thought about. They collected all kinds of crafts and candies, hard candy and stuff, and stockings, things that I had never heard, even me. And they packed 7 huge boxes I've never forgotten. And then I'm thinking, okay, they'll collect these things. How will I ship them? And I don't want to tell anybody I don't have money. Meanwhile, I have these ones that I'm collecting in my apartment. How will I ship these things? But, you know, God's time is not human time. When yours is just to obey. So mine was just to obey. And so I continued obeying. And in November, Lisa's son calls me while I'm thinking, oh, shoot, now they'll tell me to go collect the boxes. How will I ship them? I don't even know how many there are. She's like, who are we shipping these things to? I'm thinking, oh, they are shipping. I told them. I gave them my brother's name. They say, what's the shipping code for? I'm thinking, code? What? I didn't know we had codes. You know, because we never use those things here. Over there, every address has a zip code. I didn't know. So I would say, let me call. I call my brother. He doesn't even know what I'm talking about, a code. So they went again to the internet. Thank God for the internet. They went and searched and they found 00100 was the code for DHL to ship to Nairobi. So they shipped, addressed to him. I never saw those things until I came home. Mine was to come and pack and distribute. So then I see there's this American Bank of America. They're inviting me to a credit card, interest-free credit card, $4,500. They say when the deal is too good, think twice. Now, many of our Africans that I had talked to in diaspora had discouraged me from getting a credit card. They told me, this country, if you ever take a credit card, like you get into a life imprisonment, you'll never get out of debt. I'm thinking, I thought the credit card is supposed to help you pay your debts, but anyway, these people have been here long enough, so probably they know something that I don't know. So I was very, very scared of a credit card. But you know, I looked at it, I read the terms and conditions. I'm thinking, I can read and interpret what I'm reading. I don't see this as a trap. I mean, it's there. And I don't think they'll give you these terms and then turn around and go against them. So, you know what? I said, they say it takes, 5 minutes and you apply and you could get it. And I applied, boom, boom, boom. In 15 minutes, I had an approval. Credit card came in the mail, $4,500. So guess what? I could ship my donations that were filling up in my little living room, and I have a credit card to buy my air ticket. So I don't even have to spend cash. The other gifts have been shipped. I just need to show up and distribute. So that was my first sign that I was walking on the right path of purpose and obedience into service. I came and did it, and after that, I went back and I'm thinking, now I need to do it for the next year. So I did it for the following year. When I came back in 2006, I was approached by the community to consider doing more than just Christmas. Can you try to help some of the bright kids that are needing basics to stay in school? Because many of them actually were lacking school fees, very basics even at the community level. And so many bright brains were wallowing in poverty and then getting into local brews and drugs and crime. So when parents spoke to me, I saw that. And then I remembered my mom became a teenage mother. So this trend can be stopped if kids can be given access to at least some basic education. And then it preserves their dignity. So I said, okay, I'll try. So you see now, my burden became more than just once a year over Christmas. It became, throughout the year, there's something I'm doing. There's something I'm doing. I didn't even know to call it charity. I was just sending money and just helping. But every December, Christmas. This year, this December will be the 20th year, will be the 20th anniversary of my Christmas program for kids in the village. And I'm so glad that I've been consistent on that. Now, going back to the education now, 2007, I thought, Thanksgiving is coming. So I just shared a dream with friends, and it so happened that it caught the American media. And then an article was done on the Dallas Morning News, and so many people came asking, how can we support this? You know, you just need to share your vision, and there will always be somebody willing to support. They may not support in millions, but it's not about millions. It's those little acts of kindness that matter the most to that one life that you touch, and they will always remember, somebody remembered me, somebody touched me. And so when that happened, people came and said, hey, that guy from Verizon called Cliff, he came and said, by the way, Rosemary, remember we talked about this a few years ago and we worked together? I'm going to Africa with you. I said, are you serious? Yes, I am. So we came. I think we were 9 of us. Some of them, I did not know them, but they knew my friends. So it was by extension. And they came and we were here. So we came not to do Christmas. We came to do Thanksgiving. And so that particular trip in 2007, we distributed supplies, school supplies, gifts, shoes, and things to over 1,500 children from 5 different schools. So we ferried them in buses and to my village school, community school. We were all there. I know one thing. If there's a time I ever saw my mom and grandma proud of me, that was it. I was overcome by emotions. It was very overwhelming. It was overwhelming in a nice way, if that makes sense. Because I even remember that moment I tried to thank my family. I tried to thank these Americans who have traveled all the way to a community who may never see them again, to touch lives that they may never meet again. Because of me, because of a dream I had, because of just an idea I shared, I was so overwhelmed by the kindness, and then just the magnitude of seeing how many kids, and by extension, families that we touched through just giving. And I spoke to the kids and I challenged the parents. You know what, guys? These people have come all the way from their country. They have left their life of luxury. They have left their comfort to come here and walk in dusty roads and muddy roads and sleep in little rooms, shared beds and everything with people they don't know, because we were sharing beds. And by the way, almost all of us slept in the same room, which was grandma's bedroom. We almost all of us shared there, except the boys. But we were there and I was challenging our people. I tried to use that opportunity to educate our community and tell them, think about what you can do, if you just choose to sacrifice something small for your neighbor, so that one doesn't have this much while the other one is down here. These people have sacrificed. They paid the air tickets. They left the luxury of their homes. They have come here. They are spending these things that we are distributing. They've given. They've bought with their money. And it's not because they have money to just throw away, because they have empathy and they felt they want to make a difference. It might be the only time that they came, and it's true for many of them, except one. For many of them, it was the only time they came. Maybe they will come another time, I don't know. But I welcome them now that I'm on the ground. But imagine if they hadn't given, my vision or my idea could just have been a flop, right? But again, for the second time, I saw foreigners actualizing my dream to give, to make a difference, to minister to young kids in our communities in Kenya. And so after that year, we were making it better. I had formed an organization in the States in 2006, Twinkle Little Stars Incorporated. And when I started it, it was mainly for education, just to empower young kids, to help them find a voice, to help them learn to dream about their own life. So the parents don't just come and inject their own dreams into the kids. Let a child, God created them as individuals. And I know when I was dreaming about my life as a kid, granted, I wasn't told by somebody. I dreamt a life that nobody could understand in my family, because They had never seen anyone dream these big dreams, talk about things. And then I actualized my dreams. And nobody had done that. So it's not like someone went ahead and I followed. I was the pioneer. I was the trailblazer for my family. I was the trailblazer for myself. I was a trailblazer for the community. I still remain the trailblazer, even in starting charitable work, which I've seen a few people pick and try to do, but I still remain a trailblazer. So we did that from 2007. We started now more of skills, skill-based support, where we started through my organization, we started a sewing program, because I did ask the schools, okay, what are some things we can teach? They say, for example, if you can teach them sewing skills so that they know how to use machines, they know how to design a dress, a shirt, something, make it while they're still in school. And we did that. It was a 2-year program. We did that. When they graduated, some of those kids actually learned skills that helped them to go start their own businesses, because some of them never made past 8th grade. Because, for example, you find somebody is completing 8th grade, they're 18, 19 years old. Of course, they will not want to go to high school, and they haven't even made the marks. Excuse me. So one thing is, those were life-changing experiences, learning these skills that they can apply to employ themselves or to be employed elsewhere. And then the next thing is, you come, you like it, they try you out 2 weeks, even you just drop. Some of them were just dropping. They're not paying, but my team and I in the States were facilitating everything. We are buying the materials, we are paying trainers, we are buying the equipment, we're making sure they are repaired, and then we graduated them, we gave them certificates, medals of graduation. It makes them feel a sense of accomplishment. And so even if out of all those, only 5 or 20 made it and felt accomplished, it's a mission accomplished. So fast forward, during that time, I started feeling there is a need to be more presently on the ground. So I projected, okay, this is 2008, 2009, 2010, maybe around 2015, 2017, maybe I could probably start thinking about transitioning. My grandma, who had always been my biggest cheerleader, she raised me from the time she saw me refusing to drink cow milk to the time she saw me. I mean, my grandma has seen me, my first of so many things. So here she comes and starts, because I would always tell her, one day I'm going to come home and I'm going to start a school, but I will not start a regular school. I told her I want to start a talent school. Like, I want to start something like to teach them life skills. And I had to describe and explain all that to her so she can get it. I say, you see, like for me, the path of success that I've followed, it did not take academics. I needed academics. So there's a schools that will give academics. I want to give this other side of learning or of education that complements academics, that makes a complete human being and prepares them for success. Because like for me, if I didn't know how to dream, if I did not cheer myself on, if I did not just get this God's grace about networking with people, different communication skills, and I meet people because, and I'm able to establish connections and stuff because of my ability to communicate and to communicate my desire and to communicate my vision, my dream, my passion. But not every child, not every young person has the capacity or the courage to do that. So I was telling my grandma that, and oh, really, yeah, and said. So then I remember in 2009 is when that conversation started, and then 2010, she calls me while I was in the States, and she says, that's when we were coming home to graduate this batch after 2 years of training, and she said, that school that you were talking about, how much space would it need? Now she's excited, I guess, because hopefully she could see this in her lifetime. I told her, maybe about long term, maybe about 15 acres. But, I don't even have one. I don't even have a quarter. So she said, oh, okay. So I asked her, what, are you selling land? And she's like, no, I'm not selling. I'm just asking. It so happened around that time, she was dividing her property. And she set aside 10 acres, left it in her name, for when I will actually obey to move here to Kenya. then she would give it to me as a gift, because she had tasted the life in America and she had seen why people can actually get stuck in America. She saw the life of luxury. You walk here, you go into a mall, there's air conditioning everywhere, there's free water everywhere, free coffee everywhere. I mean, she's like, yeah, I can see why people get stuck here. But she always reminded me, but remember, you made a promise to God. I don't know whether she used to use God to trap me, but I don't think so. I don't think so, because she never played around about matters God. So I believe she meant it, but she was trying to push. Iron sharpens iron. Grandma was my iron that sharpened me, that put me under pressure, that challenged me, that prayed for me. It would be 2 o'clock in the morning here, and she's calling me. I'm in America, and I'm thinking, Grandma, it's 2:30. You should be asleep. What are you doing on the phone at this time? She would flash me. So I call her. She knew how to flash. I say, what are you doing? She's like, I was just up here talking to God. What are you telling God at 2 o'clock in the morning? And many times she told me I was talking to God about many things. But I was talking to God about this child. I don't want you to get lost in America. She had known some relatives that, those are the only ones that they had known that had gone since I was a little bitty kid, little bitty toddler. And they had never come home. So she feared, so her fears were valid because she had seen. So she pushed me and pushed me. And so when she divided, she still did not tell me that she's keeping anything from me. She just called me and said, did your brother tell you anything? I said, no. So I thought, is something wrong, right? I said, no, what is it? She's like, I subdivided that particular property. She told me which property, and I said, oh, okay. So how did you do? She's like, I did this and I did this. And actually, she took my mother and my auntie. There were 2 daughters that were not married. And so she told me, I acted like a polygamous husband. So I took myself as a man with 2 wives. So I installed 2 homes, your mother and this other auntie, as 2 households. And so, because now they have grown sons, my brother and my cousin, and they have families. So she said, traditionally, when a woman is single and she has a son, when that son has a family, when he acquires a family and is of sound mind, he's taken to be he's bestowed as the head of that household, of his mother's household, so that there's at least a patriarchal kind of covering. So that's what I've done. I said, and what about the rest? The rest I've kept for myself. I said, oh, that's great. Actually, I was happy that she's done something and she's kept something for herself. So within a few months, she calls me again. So when are you coming home? I say, home is in to relocate. I don't have a date yet. I still have to work. I have a long time to work before I have to, because I have to work, I have to acquire space, and then I have to work, and then I have to start building, and then I can come and start something. But right now, I'm still thinking about it. So God bless her soul, because in 2011, did I come home? 2011, again, I had met another guy. He's a doctor, Will Brown. And I spoke with Will, with his friends. Actually, his friends introduced him to me. His friends were the ones who were very passionate about coming to Africa. And so they included him because he loves service. He's a doctor. The others were in business and education. And so we talked, and we were all supposed to come to Africa. And they told me, buy the tickets, we are coming. And this time, because Will was a graduate from med school, he says, let's go and do a medical camp. For 3-day medical camp, at least even diagnose some of the basic, unfortunately, many times people get sick not because they're supposed to be sick, not because of an infection going around and stuff, but because of nutritional deficiencies. So again, knowledge is powerful when applied. So he wanted to use that to educate Africa on the basis of nutrition-led or nutrition-based health issues. So we came to Kenya in 2011. Now, the other 2 that brought him never came. But he came. In fact, he sent me his credit card. He did not know me well, but he said, I trust you. Buy my air ticket and buy your air ticket on that card. If you want to refund me, you'll refund at whatever point, but just buy. I thought, how does somebody trust you with a MasterCard, which has such a good limit? But I never even bought my ticket with that card. I bought my ticket with my card and I bought his. Long story, we traveled together. We carried a lot of medical supplies and herbal supplements and all those things. And we came in, we did camps. We did some camps in Kangondo. We did some camps in Malawi, which is where I am right now. And during that time, man, I just loved it. For me, him is doing the medical thing. I'm distributing candy to the kids and just singing and doing my thing. It was such a complete experience. That's around the same time that I launched the first libraries in Chai Primary School, which was my primary school, and Matitani Primary School, which is my community church primary school. And then that's when we launched that. And then we did the medical camps there and in Malawi or Comoros. But when we were doing the libraries, I started seeing, I'm actually hands-on. I did hammering and helped create the shelves and everything. So we created that and I launched that idea, and then I was going to go now collect the supplies for the libraries, which I collected. And but when we went back to the States after the 2011 mission outreach, medical outreach, my brain was beginning to go on overdrive. I'm excited actually. We're actualizing things on the ground. It's not just to come once a year and give candy and go, and come once a year and speak to the students and go. Actualizing, and they need more up close, in-person encouragement, because once a year they get excited, you go. 9 months, 10 months, it's gone. And I felt like it's kind of like how you get crops from a nursery bed and you transplant them into their new permanent homes, right? While they were there, they were always watered. When they're transitioned from there to their permanent places where they're supposed to grow and give shade or give fruit or whatever it is, that change there, if you're not consistent in watering, you put it here, you water it, it feels nice for 2 days, and then you're gone. After 2 weeks, you come back, it's dry. So that 2 weeks of drought, I envisioned, or I equated that to these 10, 11 months that I'm always gone. I come once a year. The kids are excited. They can dream. You can just see the excitement. They come and ask me questions. They tell me their dreams, and they're excited to have someone to talk to that has actually actualized their childhood dreams. And then I'm gone for another year. By the time I come back, that excitement, that drive, that inspiration, that motivation is dead. Then I start again, and then I'm gone. And it wasn't yielding much. But a few of those, hardy seedlings took root and watered themselves with self-belief and speaking self-talk and, that positive affirmation, speaking to themselves and stuff. A few of them took it. And today I have a few success stories of some of those who pursued their paths, and even though they were doing great academically, they still try to pursue other areas that are not academic, that they've come to excel in: sports, IT, and then now the academics, where they've graduated with university degrees. Until now, when I'm seeing their success stories, and I'm so happy for social media and to see that some seeds that I planted over 15 years ago, they took root, and others 10 years ago, and they took root, and they have continued, and they have emerged into successful stories, which I will come to tell in a different, with a different segment. But in 2011, when we went back after this medical mission trip, I went back and my mind was really stirred up about this. And then I was beginning to see some subtle hostility at my place of work. Again, I was in an office where I was the only foreigner, and I'm in a corporate head office. It was a very highly coveted office, very highly coveted position, which I did not know anybody, but I earned it by merit. And just by, I don't know, the director who hired me into that office just liked me because we talked. I brought my interview papers, we talked, and we veered from that into safari, about Kenya safaris, and his passion for fishing and hunting, and because he knows in Africa we have a lot of animals. And then he was intrigued by my IT background, which he finds, you came to America to study IT, but I see you already working in IT in Africa. And I said, yeah, that was self-taught in the streets. So those stories and stuff so gave me a position because they saw I was very innovative, I was very self-driven, I was very passionate, and I was not afraid of taking up anything or taking on any challenge. So I was given an opportunity in an office that was coveted by many. And now by taking that, of course, again, it invites unnecessary hostility from people who covet that position, never applied for it, and so they feel I didn't deserve it. And I was beginning to think, you know what, I'm not going to fight this. And I was like, God, I really love my job. But then I really love this, what this thing is becoming. But then I don't have the money to sustain this thing. How will I do this, even if I wanted to move back to Kenya now? I was back in the States 6 months later. My heart has no peace about just being in America. I started now telling people, I want to ship some things to Kenya. I want to start a life school, like a kids club life school and stuff like that. I have no building, by the way. That time I have no building, but my grandma has told me, if you're ready and whenever you're ready, you come, the space will be there. But I'm thinking, how do I start? I need money. So I remember doing that. Actually, no. That was October when I went back, and she was telling me about all that. And then in 2011, when we were coming to do the mission, the medical outreach, around that time, I was going to apply for my paperwork, my immigration, and my green card was due for renewal. Then I thought, do I renew it or do I swap it for citizenship? What if I don't get it? Because if I'm going to do what I want to do in Kenya long term, the best way would be to have an American citizenship, because that will give me the ability to be in Kenya for extended periods of time. I can go to the States, and whenever I go there, I always volunteer. I always find a place to volunteer to serve, because some of the people that I'm volunteering with are the ones who support my charity, programs in Kenya. So it's a give and take. But how do I do that? So I went to apply, and then the attorney asked me for $2,500. There's already, I think it was $1,600 application, and then the attorney's $2,500. That's almost $4,000. I told God, I don't have that kind of money. The application amount, yes. But this one for the attorney, I said, God, you will be my attorney in this. This way you will show me whether this vision I have for kids in Africa, is it my vision or your vision? If you're in this, I will go without an attorney. I'll apply without an attorney. I'll take a risk by faith. I've taken too many risks that God has pulled me through. And so I said, I will take this risk. This will probably be the biggest one ever. And that will mean I will have to give up my corporate American career, which does not make any sense to many people, which is a career that many have coveted, and many had verbalized it, Kenyans and Americans alike. And yes, it was great. I mean, I lived well. I was living in far north Dallas. I lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. I'm paying $1,500. By the time you put utilities and everything, you're almost spending $2,000 a month. So I applied for my citizenship without an attorney. I was supposed to wait 180 days to get an approval. I got an approval letter in the mail in 30 days. And then I was supposed to wait now for 6 months or so before I can get the final, letter to go collect my passport, whatever. I got it in 60 days. I said, okay, God, this is a hallelujah moment. I'm not trying to be religious. That's my faith. That's what it has done for me. I know sometimes you tell people things, and I don't like to be all fanatic about, if you don't do this, God won't do this. God is not a manipulative God. But if he has put a dream and a desire and a passion in your heart, and especially for service, which removes focus from yourself onto others, I do know one thing: God will always bring to pass what he is. When I finally came to now check out, okay, I think I went back. Like I said, there was hostility at work, and I'm like, I'm not going to fight for a job. So I have no peace of mind where I'm working, while I'm actually so excited about something I want to go do, which I don't even know how I'll pay myself, but I will be so happy just because that was bringing me a lot of joy. And I say, God, please differentiate this for me, clarify this for me. And I took some time off work and I thought about it. And I was actually depressed because there was so much hostility at work and it was affecting my ability, my capacity to deliver. And I went and saw a doctor, and the doctor evaluated me and said, you know what, you might want to take a break for your mental sanity, for your clarity, you might want to take a break. I took a break, and thank God for my employer, I had benefits that I could use. They could still pay me a certain percentage while I'm taking this break. And so I hang on to those benefits. While I was taking this break, I was able to get some clarity. And I said, you know what? I will take this jump. I will jump by faith, and I will let that career go. 30 days before my benefits would expire, I got a letter from HR, and they said, you have 30 days to either apply for another position, because now they're replacing me. Apply for another position in another branch, because it's a huge company. It was all over the world, but America was the main, headquarters. We were in over 80 countries, but America was the main hub. But globally, our headquarters was in France, and so I could apply for a job with a company in 30 days. Otherwise, if in 30 days I've not applied for that, then my employment will be terminated. So I let it just die the natural death. I did not fight. I did not respond. I decided this is a sign. It's time for me to go. And so I packed my things, collected a lot of things. My garage was parked. I need to ship these things. I can't leave them with me. I can't live with them in the States. And then if I ship them, I can't just ship them. I have to be there to make sure they end up in the right hands, the right beneficiaries, and then I can start something on the ground. I came and started with partnering with community programs, the local markets, local schools, and stuff like that. Now, while I figure out what do, I did know that as I had initiated library programs in schools, I was going to create my own library. I wanted to build a library for the community. I know it's not something we have many of. In our region, we don't have a lot of public or community libraries and stuff. So I wanted to do something that's different. That's what was in my heart. I wanted to give them knowledge which is found in books. They can come and watch movies. They can come and learn different sports, games. They come together. They challenge each other. Oh, I dream of this and I dream of this. And why? They have to know the why and all that. So I wanted to create a central place where I can bring them together and do all this together. And that's how I transitioned. When I was relocating, my American friends encouraged me a lot. My Kenyan friends discouraged me and said, you will just go 2 months, you will give up, you'll come and find us. It has been over 12 years now, and I'm still here, still going, still continuing to do what I do. And when I look back from back then, actually from back when I started my very first Christmas project in 2005 up to now, that makes it 20 years. The lives that I have impacted in the smallest ways, in the biggest ways, in the in-betweens, just with a word of encouragement, just with a small packet of supplies, just with an education kit or something. What is it? A place for them to come and feel like kids, a place for them to come and play. Because my place, my facilities are not just a library. There's a recreational space. There are swings and slides. There's a field for football. There's a field for basketball. There's tables. There's table tennis. There's volleyball. There's all those things. The fact that so many children have come through there, and others, I have gone from there to reach out to them through schools. I just know I would never have done that had I not made this move. And one thing, as long as I have a roof over my head, and I thank God for that, because where I have built is that space that Grandma gave me, 10 acres. And she wanted to be a part of my ministry. She wants us to be a part of this legacy, even when she's not here, even after she's gone. Like now, she's gone. But I thank God that before she went, I gave her the desires of her heart. She desired to see me relocated. She desired to see me having a home before she would leave this world. She desired to see at least I have started my program. She came there. We did, like I said, the dedication lunch. She was there. She came and spent 4 days, 3 nights in my little tin house. She knew I had a home, even though it was a tin room. By the time I was building my my permanent home. She had lost her eyesight, so she wasn't able to see it, but she knew. And she also participated in building that house. That is a one person that materially, from the family, gave more than I ever expected. I may not change the older people because they're already past that, but I'm molding the young people, and I see them. Just this last week, some of the kids that I met when they were 3 years old when I first came there, they still come there, and now they're in high school. One is going to finish high school next year. The other one is going to third year in high school next year. One started as 3 years old. The other one started at 5 years old. And we've come a long way, come a long way. One of them, I remember, I even asked him, do you remember the discipline I used to instill in you when you were like 7 years old? He's like, yeah. I said, tell me what you remember. I remember one day I organized to steal, and I stole, and he organized, and he helped other kids to organize, and he executed the project very well. Then he ran after. He gave the little ones to carry because they have short steps. And then after they have exited the compound, he took the ones that he's taken and ran. He was caught. They came back. I said, so what happened? I know you caned me and you told me never to. I said, well, if you had enmity towards me, you wouldn't be coming back here. So I appreciate that you remember that, but you still come back here. And so now I'm talking to him at the level of a teenager. That time was at the level of a 7-year-old. He still remembers that. And today I told him, you know what you were doing was project management and leadership, because you executed it, planned for the little ones to run ahead of you, and then you came after them, but you are applying it the wrong way. So you can still apply that. So I like the fact that being here, I'm already seeing fruits of seeds and seedlings that I planted many years ago. And I thank God for my friends, especially in America, let me just say that have continued to keep me fed, clothed, housed, and encouraged, because I know I'm on the right path. And right now, as we speak, I have been able to employ 5 people. If I hadn't been on the ground, those 5 people wouldn't have employment. They have needs that must be met. Some are family people. By extension, we're supporting 5 families directly from there. I came here thinking I'll just build a library and a life school and do a kids club. But I ended up raising goats, raising chicken, raising ducks, raising dogs, things that I never thought about. I ended up planting fruits and planting food to supply to them, to supply to their families, to supply to us, to supply to the kids who come there, and to lower the cost of operation, because we can produce our own food. And even doing that, I have been learning most of those things, how to do some of those agricultural things. I learned from these young people that come through there that have a different background of farming. I embrace diversity. Many of my people are from different parts of the country. I don't believe in hiring people who just speak my mother tongue, that have come from my region. They only know one way of doing things. So I have embraced that, and I encourage even the children to embrace diversity. I encourage these ones that I've hired to embrace diversity so they can work together. So in coming to serve kids, I've ended up serving families and a community and creating employment. And all because of a few, probably a handful of loyal, dependable, faithful friends who I call partners, because without their partnership, without their monthly support or seasonal support, or even just calling and checking on me and sending me emails, I wouldn't be here. I would have given up. And there has been opportunities for me to take up an opportunity like a corporate job in the city. But I knew the moment I'll take that would be the death of what I came here to do. And so I told God to sustain me on the ground as I continue to do that, to take care of my basics. And one of the prayers I prayed before I left America was this: God, I'm going there. I don't know how I'm going to survive, but I'm going by faith. And as you say that, you say you will never leave me, you will never forsake me. I want to go there by faith, and I want to trust you to sustain me. How? I don't know. People say out of sight, out of mind. I don't believe it's always absolutely true. I've been away from America now for at least 12 years, and I haven't traveled since COVID. And these are people I haven't seen. but they still check on me. They still think about me. They will still support me. They still stand with me. So it's not always necessarily true that out of sight, out of mind. If you have someone in your mind and in your heart, you will always remember them. And I learned to live on something we call the Lord's Prayer. Right now, I'm at a point of establishing a structured sports club for young kids, because over the years, I took that as a learning opportunity for me to see what is the most effective platform to use to reach these kids, to teach different things and to really help them even come together and talk to them about the different areas we want to talk about. And sports has always taught the church. Sports, especially soccer, skating, and now basketball. So I'm in the process of creating that in collaboration of some of the clubs that I have hosted. Hosting people without expecting anything, I've come to learn that has had more value for me. I don't charge, they come. Whoever wants to give a token of appreciation, they give. Even if they don't give that, they've seen something in me. Their consistency, my consistency, we are marrying those two to create something that will be mutually beneficial. It will expand their reach. It will enhance my reach and actually create what they already have. So they're duplicating what they already have at my place for the name of the Wimberley. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I cannot be a sports manager. I cannot be a football coach and whatever, but they are bringing it to me because I have hosted them and I have helped them and I've supported their programs through the help of you, my friends. Now they want to give back by coming to help me create like not a home club, like a club for the Wimberley. And in the process, then now we are looking to recruit a young man, a recent graduate, who is passionate about kids and sports. And hopefully that is the person that will help to nurture and to grow this thing. I just hope and pray that it can be driven by a spirit of service, not status, not title, not money. Looking back in my transition journey and what I had experienced in America and since I moved back to Kenya, I could say without a doubt that I have no regrets for making that bold move. I must say bold because it's like I jumped into an ocean even without knowing how to swim, because I didn't know how to survive. But I did know one thing. I had a jacket of faith. I knew that he who had called me into this would not let me drown. He would hold me to float even if I couldn't swim. And that has been the case. And yes, in America, I had a wonderful life. Let me say this. For the first time in my life, I could say I actually experienced love. I fell in love for the first time in America. And, that could have been something that probably would have made me never think about moving back to Kenya. And since moving back to Kenya, it's been a little bit of a challenge, especially in that aspect. People see you as an object, especially as a single woman. It has been a challenge, but it has been a rewarding experience for me from the angle of service, of why I came to do what I came to do. There were some shockers when I hit the ground, because I expected everybody would just embrace me but they embraced for the short time while there were still some goodies. And once you dish them out, I was like left to fall on a very hard ground. But I thank God for shock absorbers, because I fell, but I bounced right back. I thank God for the gift of resilience. Do I regret having moved back to Kenya and living that luxury life? I could just hop on a flight and go to California. I could go on a cruise. I could go to Disney World, Disneyland, hop on a boat and go to an island. And I did all that. I don't regret having moved. I obviously can't afford that life right now, but everything has its place and time in life. And I still believe I'm in the right season of my life, because I believe the lives that I have touched, those have enriched my life. Because to know that a life is better because I was part of it, to know that someone's future is different and is successful because I was part of it, even in a small way, to know that a certain family somewhere has hope because I gave up my personal ambitions in America. To me, that holds a lot more value than the many cars that I could have bought in America, the many cruises that have been going on, the many vacations that I could have been able to afford. And I thank God for that time that He allowed me to experience that luxury. Because I cannot say my life in America, I was suffering. And I know many times people stay in America because they're struggling and they're living a lie and they don't want to, they can't face the reality on the ground in their home country. So they live that lie there. And that's a very long road that sometimes is endless because you just get yourself immersed in work and money and things and work and money and things. And it's a totally empty life. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working hard, but I'm just saying there are people who, having lived there, I have seen there are people who just work. They just have things to post on social media, but it's about me. What are you trying to, what thirst are you trying to quench? You want to draw people to yourself and to what you have and what you have. What's your legacy, really? For me, coming back to Kenya and living that comfort and missing it at some point was a bit of, it was a bit, shocking and shaky. But I have stabilized to where I'm happy doing what I do. I know there are new things that are coming up. I know that there are new chapters that are about to be launched in my life. But I'm glad for where I am, for what I've accomplished. When I look at the value in people, to me, is more than value of digits in my bank account somewhere, just living a life that is feeding me and fueling my success, while I could potentially be fueling successes of many. Some who I may never even meet when they're successful. I may never meet, but I do know I have fueled their success. I have planted a seed of hope in them, and I see livelihoods being transformed. That to me, I take it to be my wealth. It's like that's my bank. I've been investing in lives, and the dividends, the returns from such, you cannot count that. I've seen people tell me, why are you selling this to continue building this thing and you're giving things away for free? Why don't you develop that and build a property and just rent? Well, maybe I could have done that while I was away so that when I come, then that would have helped to sustain my, my expenses. But because I didn't do that and I'm on the ground and I came on the ground to do what I came to the ground to do, then I have to liquidate what I have to continue doing what I know I was called to do, and God will take care of the rest. And He has done that very well. So I have no regrets whatsoever. And I know there are many of you that are probably looking to invest in other people's lives, or even in whatever you want. Even when you invest in a business, that is still investing in people's lives, because everybody is not called to do charity. When you invest in a business and create employment in this country or in your home country, whatever that is, you are also touching lives. And if you're scared of your home country, maybe what would help is to try and do what I did, to maybe start baby steps, maybe make a trip there, spend a month at home, but be intentional. I was not intentional when I would make my visits. I would come and I would be all over the place and go. And I never stayed grounded long enough to be in touch with the reality, which is why I hit some shocks when I relocated. So I would encourage you to make trips home, if possible, once a year. Go home, spend a month, spend at least 2 weeks intentionally around the community where you would like to invest or where you'd like to start something, and get in touch with the realities on the ground. What are some challenges? Is it political? Is it cultural? Is it resources, human resources, whatever it is? So that by the time you decide you're ready to make a move, you have been building that foundation, so that by the time you come or go wherever your home is, you land on a softer ground than what I landed on. And at the same time, you'll have created a source of sustainability for yourself. Because I'll tell you, you don't want to be a laughing stock where you think you've come to serve and people say you used to live abroad and you used to brag about this, and you never really used to brag, but people will tend to call you, put all kinds of sarcastic titles on you and all that stuff. So to save yourself from that, and really even to save yourself from your personal regrets and stuff, and your mental health, I must add, try to create that platform slowly, but start now if you want to start. And then for those of you who are not looking to invest, or maybe are not even looking to ever start anything to change in your community, you could, but you want to do it, because I know sometimes it's really hard to incubate something like that to where it gets to a point of impact. What you could do is find others like what I'm doing and partner with us and do it. And you will, by extension, you will always feel, because you get the updates and you know your $20, your $50, your $1,000, your, hey, $100,000 is part of this, something that is growing, something that is changing lives. That is really the richest legacy anybody can ever live on this earth. And even if you have to live it through other people because you don't have the time or you don't have the desire to reinvent the wheel and to start something, then you can do it with other people, through other people. So go ahead and do that, but take time, do an introspection, know exactly what am I wanting to do, why am I wanting to know. When you know why, you will figure out how to do that. And you know, I share these stories to really just inspire people and to liberate people from, you know, a place of stagnation. You can be very wealthy, but you're stagnated life-wise, or you feel you have no value in the world. But anybody can add value to their life and to the life around world around them. And so if you feel this is a story that has inspired you, that has empowered you, that has reignited something in you, maybe even given you a challenge, maybe you've never thought about doing it through somebody else, I invite you to join us. I mean, you can be a part of what I'm doing. You can find another charity that speaks to the cause, that speaks to your heart. Mine is mainly about kids, and it's mainly about communities, but especially kids and young people. That's where the future is. I want to shape them while they're still young. So if you feel that it has spoken to you, you should be able to reach us through the website of www.twinklettlestars.org. You could also reach out to us or via WhatsApp. You could do +254 701 011 468 or +254 0793. Actually, when you do the 254, it's +254 793 602 746 or +254 701 011 468. And reach out. There are methods of communicating there. You could donate on the twinklettlestars.org. There is a donation button. Donate if you're in the US. That is a tax deductible donation. You can write it off on your taxes. If you want to give stuff, you can give stuff, and we can evaluate that and send you a letter of credit so that you can get credited when it comes to filing your taxes. The other way, it's not just about things and money. It is your time. It's your services. It's your knowledge. It is your expertise. I covet that. I covet that. Every holiday, you know, I know in the US, especially, I would want to see kids in the US and kids in Kenya come together and sharpen each other just by sharing their experiences. And I know America is big on missions. I know kids get at least a 3-month summer break. That could be a great time to plan an annual trip with your family or with your school or with your church, to come to Kenya, to come, and we'd be glad to host you. And we could work together where you come and your kids work with our kids and you work with our kids. Your youth works with our kids as well. And maybe even sponsor one child to bring them to America and expose them. Let them see another world out there. Let them open up, let it open up their minds to world of possibilities out there. Some that they may never know unless we, you and I, make it possible for them. And when God created us, really, He never created rich and poor. He created human beings. And human beings are only going to be as rich as we can learn to serve one another. So we're looking to create such exchange or mission trips, student exchange, sports. You could also help us with sports supplies, especially like football, football in Kenya, which is really soccer out there. We could use balls. I mean, they're consumables. They're probably our fastest moving consumables that punctures all the time. So we could use those. We could use field markers or cones, training cones. We could use soccer boots. We could use jerseys. Your children, your school, your team probably have a set that they are not using anymore. They don't need anymore. I may not be able to count the number of lives that I've touched, but I know it is grand. It is grand. And for me, I'm in a very good place. If I had to do it all over again, I still believe I would go and pack my things and ship and buy a one-way ticket and move to Kenya or wherever God would be leading me. And I would go start with $5,000, $6,000. It was 6,000, but I have not been living on 6,000 since then. It has been a lot more, but it doesn't stay there to be counted. It comes and goes because it's doing what it was called to come and do. So I'm grateful and I'm glad I'm in this place, and I have a lot of peace in my heart. If you choose to send things to us and you contact us with whatever it is you would like to ship to us, we will be glad to work with you and coordinate how they would be picked from where you are to be shipped from the US and reach us here and really continue touching lives out here in Kenya. The other thing is we also need laptops. We need working laptops to introduce technology to young kids out here. Coding is becoming, and in this era of AI, it's a new language. Whether we like it or not, is here with us. And young people need to learn and stay in touch with the rest of the world. But we are limited in resources. We have limited resources of technology. So if you have any that you would like to give, I'll be glad to work with you and help you find a way to get them shipped to us. And just know that you're touching lives. And again, I cannot emphasize enough, we covet your personal and physical support. Just come and be with us. We'll be glad to take you around, show you safari, some wild animals, take you to fetch water and do things great, some grazing of goats and stuff like that, and really leave an impact while our lives or our young lives also leave an impact in yours that I know you will live to remember. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you.